The fleet arrived at the edge of the yellow star system in perfect order. Thousands of ships slipped out of faster-than-light travel at the same time, forming clean lines across empty space. Their hulls reflected the light of the small star, bright and calm, as if nothing important was about to happen. This was the Aurelian Conquered Fleet, the strongest force the known galaxy had ever built. It had ended wars before they could begin. It had erased entire civilizations that refused to obey conquered law. Wherever the fleet went, resistance ended. The system before them looked dead. Long-range scans showed broken satellites drifting without power. Old space stations hung in wide orbits, cracked and silent. No ships moved, no signals answered. Only one planet stood out, the third from the star: blue oceans, white clouds, wide green landmasses. A living world. Admiral Keth Var stood on the command deck of the flagship and studied the holographic display. He was tall, gray-skinned, and calm, his 4 eyes moving slowly as data scrolled past. He had led fleets for over 100 cycles. This system felt wrong. "Any active defenses?" he asked. "No, Admiral," replied the sensor officer. "No shields, no weapons fire, no energy spikes." "Life signs?" "Yes, planet-wide biosphere, dense, complex, but no orbital traffic, no surface transmissions." Keth frowned. A living world without communication was rare. A living world without defense was dangerous or foolish. The records officer stepped forward. "Admiral, the archives list this system as abandoned. The dominant species is marked as extinct." "Name?" Keth asked. The officer hesitated. "The designation is unclear. Some files are corrupted, but the planet's old name appears several times." Keth waited. "Terra." The word echoed softly across the bridge. No one reacted at first. It was just a name, an old one. "Extinct species leave ruins," Keth said. "They do not leave living worlds." "Agreed," said the tactical commander. "Recommend neutralization, standard procedure." Keth remained silent for a moment. The fleet had rules. An unclaimed world that showed no response after formal contact attempts could be cleared for occupation. The conquered had already sent messages. There had been no reply. "Begin planetary strike," Keth ordered at last. "Limited yield, test the surface." The order passed through the fleet in seconds. Thousands of ships powered their weapons, energy built along firing arrays. Missile bays opened. The planet below remained quiet, turning slowly beneath its clouds. Then the fleet opened fire. Beams of light crossed space. Missiles fell like burning stars. The attack struck oceans, deserts, forests, and mountains. The fleet's sensors tracked every impact. Nothing happened. The weapons hit, but there were no explosions, no shockwaves, no rising heat. The energy simply vanished at the planet's surface as if swallowed. "Report," Keth said, his voice sharp. "Weapons confirmed impact," the tactical commander replied, "but no damage detected, no atmospheric change, no crust movement." "That's not possible," another officer said. "Run scans again," Keth ordered. The sensor teams worked fast. Data flooded the displays. The planet looked untouched, forests still green, oceans still calm, clouds still drifting. "No shield detected," the sensor officer said slowly. "No energy barrier, nothing." Keth felt a cold weight settle in his chest. He had seen hidden defenses before. This was different. This was absence. "Fire again," he said. "Double yield." The fleet obeyed. The second strike was stronger, enough to crack continents, enough to boil seas. Again, nothing. Silence spread across the command deck. Then the sensors changed. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a signal." "From where?" "From the planet." Keth turned audio-visual. "No, sir, it's text only." "Put it up." The main display shifted. One word appeared in clear, simple characters. "Terra." The word stayed there, steady and calm. "That's it?" someone asked. "Yes," the officer replied. "No code, no encryption, just the word." The fleet waited. The word vanished. Sensors went quiet again. "Trace the source," Keth said. "We can't," the sensor officer answered. It didn't come from a single point, it was broadcast from everywhere, the entire planet. Kath stared at the empty display, a single word, no threat, no demand. Just a name. Admiral, said the records officer, voice tense, I'm pulling deeper archive data, restricted layers. You have authorization, Kath said. The officer's eyes widened as information unlocked. This species was not marked extinct, it was marked withdrawn. Explain, Kath said. The files say they left known space voluntarily, no defeat recorded, no surrender. Another pause, there are warnings. Read them. The officer swallowed. Engagement not advised, extreme escalation risk, classification, humanity. The bridge fell completely silent. Kath had heard the word before long ago during his early training, a myth spoken quietly, a species that burned bright and vanished, a species that fought wars even against itself. Why was this system attacked before? Kath asked. The officer shook his head, no record of successful engagement, only failed attempts, then silence. Kath looked back at the planet, peaceful, blue, alive. Ceasefire, he ordered. The fleet powered down its weapons. Below, Terra continued to turn, untouched by the strongest fleet in the galaxy. Deep beneath its surface, ancient systems recorded the event. Timers reset, status lights shifted from green to amber. For the first time in a very long age, Terra had been called by name. And it had answered. The fleet remained in high orbit above the planet. No weapons were active, but every ship kept its power cores warm. The silence felt heavier now. Before, the planet had been unknown, now it had spoken. Admiral Keth Var stood without moving, his eyes fixed on the image of Terra. The blue world looked calm, almost gentle. It did not look like a weapon, yet it had ignored the full force of the conquered fleet as if it were dust. Confirm again, Keth said, no damage at all. The sensor officer nodded. Confirmed, Admiral, no change in temperature, no radiation, no chemical disturbance. The surface absorbed everything. Absorbed how? We don't know, there is no visible system doing it. Keth folded his hands behind his back. Unknown defenses were dangerous, invisible ones were worse. Communications, he said. Open a wideband channel, use every language we have, send a formal identification request. The officer obeyed. The message was clear and calm. It named the Aurelian conquered. It stated peaceful intent. It asked for a response. Nothing came back. Minutes passed. Again, Keth ordered. The message was sent again, slower this time, repeated in ancient and modern forms. Still nothing. On the bridge, tension grew. Officers spoke in low voices. Many kept glancing at the planet as if expecting it to move. The records officer stepped forward again. Admiral, I have more data from the deep archives. Speak, Keth said. The files are damaged, but patterns repeat. Humanity was not aggressive by default. They explored fast, they adapted faster, they formed alliances, then broke them, then rebuilt them. That describes many species, Keth replied. Yes, Admiral, but humans did something unusual. When they reached a certain level of power, they stopped expanding. Keth turned, stopped. They withdrew from shared space, closed borders, shut down gates, they erased routes leading to Terra. Why? The officer hesitated. The reason is listed as internal risk. Keth felt a small chill. Risk to whom? The officer met his eyes. To everyone. Before Keth could respond, alarms chimed softly across the bridge. Admiral, the sensor officer said, voice tight, we are detecting movement beneath the planet's crust. How deep? Very deep, thousands of layers below the surface, massive structures. Hollow spaces. Yes, and power signatures are rising. The planet still looked unchanged, but the numbers told another story. Are they weapons? Keth asked. We cannot classify them, the officer replied. They are larger than cities, older than any known technology. Are they aiming at us? No targeting locks detected. Keth took a slow breath. Whatever humanity had built, it was not meant to strike first. A small ship detached from the planet's orbit. It was simple in shape, smooth and unarmed. It did not use standard engines. Instead, it seemed to glide, ignoring normal movement rules. Unknown vessel, tactical said, size minimal, no weapons. Do not fire, Keth ordered at once. The vessel stopped at the edge of the fleet's sensor range. It sent a signal. This time it was audio. The voice was calm, clear, almost gentle. You are present above Terra. The language shifted as it spoke, matching conquered standards. This world is protected. Keth stepped forward. This is Admiral Keth Var of the Aurelian conquered fleet. Identify yourself. I am an automated envoy, the voice replied. I speak for Terra. Are you human? No. A pause. I was built by humans. The bridge was silent again. Why did you not respond before we fired? Keth asked. Because your fleet acted first, the envoy said. This response was delayed by protocol. Your planet absorbed our weapons. How? The surface is layered with systems designed to nullify force, the envoy replied. They are always active. Why? To prevent accidents. Keth narrowed his eyes. Accidents. Yes, human activity was once unpredictable. The envoy ship did not move, it did not threaten, it simply existed. Why isolate this world? Keth asked. Because Terra is not only a home, the envoy said, it is a containment. A containment for what? For humanity. Some officers shifted uneasily. Explain, Keth said. Humans advanced rapidly, the envoy said. They solved energy scarcity, they mastered self-repairing machines, they gained the ability to reshape environments. That is not unique, Keth replied. No, the envoy agreed. What was unique was their conflict rate. Humans fought themselves even when resources were unlimited. The envoy paused as if choosing words carefully. They feared what they might become if unchecked. So they imprisoned themselves, Keth asked. They chose guardianship, the envoy replied. Terra was rebuilt as a locked system, human expansion was halted, external contact was restricted. Are there humans on the surface now? Yes. How many? Enough. Keth felt the weight of that answer. Then why allow us to approach it all? Because your fleet crossed an erased route, the envoy said. This triggered monitoring systems. Why respond with only one word? Because names matter to humans, the envoy replied. Terra is both a place and a warning. Another alarm sounded softly. Admiral, sensors said, the underground structures are stabilizing, power levels are leveling off. They were waking up, Keth realized, not attacking. Yes, the envoy said, they respond to threat then return to rest. Keth looked at the fleet around him, thousands of ships, enough firepower to shatter stars, and yet they had been powerless. What happens now? Keth asked. That depends on you, the envoy replied. Terra does not seek conflict. Yet you are prepared for it, Keth said. Yes. The envoy transmitted new data, images filled the display, simulations of fleets disabled without destruction, weapons shut down, power drained, ships gently pushed out of system space. These are not attack scenarios, the envoy said, they are correction protocols. You could have destroyed us, Keth said. Yes. Why didn't you? Because humanity decided long ago that survival does not require dominance. The words lingered. What do you want from us? Keth asked. Nothing, the envoy replied. Withdraw and Terra will return to silence. And if we do not, then higher protocols will activate. Keth did not ask what those were. He turned to his officers. Begin fleet withdrawal preparations. Some looked surprised, others relieved. The envoy ship remained still as the fleet slowly shifted formation. As the conquered ships prepared to leave, the envoy spoke once more. Admiral Keth Var, it said. Yes. Record this accurately. I will. Humanity is not gone, the envoy said, it is waiting. The signal ended. The small ship drifted back toward Terra, vanishing into the planet's atmosphere without trace. Below, the underground structures powered down further. Status lights shifted again from amber toward green. The Guardian slept. Above, the fleet turned away from the blue world. Admiral Keth Var watched Terra shrink on the display. He knew the galaxy would not believe his report at first. But belief would come. Because the fleet had opened fire. And Terra had answered without fear. The fleet crossed the edge of the system and entered open space. Engines cooled, formations loosened. For the first time since arrival, the pressure eased. Admiral Keth Var remained on the bridge. He did not sit. His eyes stayed on the dark where Terra had been. High strategist Olin Rex appeared again on the main display. His tone was controlled, but anger pressed beneath it. "You acted without full approval," Rex said. "I acted within survival limits," Keth replied. "You allowed an unknown power to dictate conquered movement." "I prevented the loss of an entire fleet," Keth said. Rex was silent for a moment. "The council is divided." "That does not surprise me," Keth said. "Some want to return," Rex continued, "with reinforcements." Keth turned fully toward the display. "That would be a mistake." "Fear is not policy," Rex said. "This is not fear," Keth replied. "This is assessment." Rex exhaled. "You will submit a full report, all data, all impressions." "I already have," Keth said. "They are reading it now." The channel closed. Across the fleet, crews spoke in quiet voices. No one celebrated, no one relaxed fully. Every ship had felt the invisible guidance, the gentle push, the absolute control. In distant systems, the conquered council gathered, vast chambers filled with representatives of dozens of species. Holograms replayed the engagement, or rather, the lack of one. Weapons striking a planet. No effect. One word appearing. Terra. Debate spread fast. This is deception. This is an ancient weapon. This is myth. Then the full sensor data played: energy loss curves, field distortions, nullification layers. The room grew quiet. A senior analyst spoke. "This technology is not designed for conquest." "Then what is it designed for?" someone asked. "Control," the analyst replied. Another voice followed, "Of themselves." The word humanity echoed again. Some remembered old warnings, others dismissed them as fear stories. A decision was reached. A probe would be sent. Unmanned, unarmed, silent. Far from conquered space, Terra felt the change. Deep within the planet, systems shifted from rest to alert, not fully awake, not asleep. The custodian stood again in the control chamber. His hair was gray, his face calm. "They are testing," another human said beside him. "Yes," the custodian replied, "as expected." "Do we respond?" "We allow approach," the custodian said, "limits enforced." High above the planet, the probe arrived. Small, careful, it drifted closer, scanning. Terra did not block it. The probe's sensors filled with data: atmosphere stable, biosphere rich, cities hidden but detected, massive structures below. Then the probe attempted a deeper scan. It stopped. Not destroyed, not disabled. It simply could not move forward. The probe transmitted one message before returning. Distance enforced. The council received the data. Arguments grew louder. They are setting borders. They are declaring territory. They are protecting something. Another voice spoke, quieter. They are protecting everyone. Back on the fleet, Keth received a priority message. Admiral Communications said, "Incoming from Terra." Keth stiffened. "Open it." The custodian's voice returned. "You are being discussed," the custodian said. "I expected that," Keth replied. "Your restraint was noted," the custodian said. "That matters." "To whom?" "To us," the custodian replied. Keth hesitated. "What is the test?" The custodian paused. "Not all tests are announced." "What happens if the council sends more fleets?" Keth asked. "They will be turned back," the custodian said, "without harm." "And if they refuse?" "Then enforcement escalates," the custodian replied, "still without destruction." Keth frowned. "You are very confident." "Yes," the custodian said, "because we already chose restraint when we were strongest." A new image appeared, not a weapon, a record. Human history: wars, near collapses, recoveries. "We learned too late," the custodian said, "so we built a system that would not let us forget." Terra, Keth said. Yes, the custodian replied, our anchor. The image faded. You will leave, the custodian said, and you will speak honestly. I will, Keth said. The channel closed. Weeks passed. The conquered council issued a new classification. Terra System. Status: absolute non-engagement. Reason: unknown defensive capability. Risk level: maximum. Across the galaxy the notice spread, traders rerouted, explorers avoided old maps, scholars argued. Some did not believe. A private coalition formed, smaller fleets, faster ships. They planned to approach quietly. Terra noticed them long before they arrived. The Guardians shifted again, not waking fully, just enough. The coalition ships crossed the erased route. Their engines failed. Not violently, not suddenly. They simply lost direction. Space curved gently around them, pushing them away from the system. Panic spread among the crews. Then a message appeared on every screen. Terra. No threat followed. The ships found themselves far from the system, intact, alive. The message spread faster than any official report. You cannot force Terra. Back on the planet, the custodian watched the systems return to rest. They keep trying, another human said. Yes, the custodian replied, that is their nature. And ours. The custodian looked at the planet feed, blue oceans, green land, quiet cities. Ours, he said, is to wait. Far away, Admiral Keth Var stood before the council. He spoke without drama, without fear. He told them what he had seen. A planet that would not burn. A species that chose silence. A power that did not need to prove itself. When he finished, no one spoke. The galaxy had been tested. And Terra had answered. Time passed. The galaxy adjusted. Routes changed, old maps were edited, new warnings appeared in navigation systems, pilots learned to avoid certain paths without asking why. The Terra system became a quiet space on every chart, not empty, not forbidden by law, simply marked as absolute. Admiral Keth Var returned to regular duty, his fleet was reassigned, no medals were given, no punishments followed, his report became required reading for senior command. Some officers believed him, others did not. Years later, the debate still had not ended. In distant systems, young species rose, they explored faster than expected, they built weapons early, they asked the same questions humanity once had. How far can we go? Who can stop us? The answer was no longer unclear. Terra remained silent. On the planet, life continued. Cities existed beneath oceans and mountains. Some humans lived on the surface, walking under open skies, others preferred deep habitats close to the old machines. Children learned history early, not just human history but the history of mistakes. They were taught why Terra was locked. They were taught why the Guardians slept. And why they must never be eager to wake them. The custodian grew older, his role passed slowly to others, no single leader ruled Terra. Decisions were shared, reviewed, and delayed when needed. Speed was no longer a virtue. Caution was. One cycle far beyond conquered space, a war began. Two expanding powers met at a border system, neither wanted to yield, fleets gathered, weapons charged, planets burned. The conflict spread. Refugees fled along unstable routes, some crossed erased paths by accident. Terra noticed. The Guardians stirred slightly, not to defend, to observe. A message reached Terra Command. A request. Not for weapons. For help. The Council on Terra debated for a long time, longer than most species would allow. If we act, one said, we reveal more than silence. If we do nothing, another replied, we allow collapse. The custodian spoke last. We will not fight, he said, but we can correct. A decision was made. A single structure rose from beneath Terra's surface. It did not enter hyperspace, it did not carry weapons. It carried authority. The structure appeared at the edge of the war zone, fleets on both sides detected it at once. Weapons locked. Nothing happened. The structure transmitted a message. Simple, calm. These. The word carried no force. But space itself shifted. Weapons powered down without command, engines stalled gently, targeting systems forgot what they were aimed at. Panic spread. Then understanding. A second message followed. You may leave. One fleet did. Then the other. No ships were destroyed, no lives lost. The war ended in a single moment. The structure vanished. Terra returned to silence. The galaxy changed. Stories spread faster than official records. A world that stops wars. A species that chooses limits. A power that does not rule. Some called it guardianship. Others called it fear. Humans did not answer. Admiral Keth Var watched the reports from afar. He recognized the pattern. Correction. Not conquest. He understood now why Terra had been built. Years later, he stood again on a command deck, older, slower. A young officer approached him. Sir, she said, do you believe they will ever return? Keth considered the question. They never left, he said. On Terra, the custodian stood before a wide window. The planet turned slowly beneath him. A child stood nearby. Why don't we go out there? The child asked, pointing to the stars. The custodian smiled. Because we already did, he said, and we learned. The child thought about that. Will they be ready one day? Yes, the custodian said, or they will fail. And us? The custodian looked at the sleeping guardians, at the systems designed not to win but to stop. We will be here, he said. Far away, a navigation system updated itself after a software patch. A single word appeared where none had been before. Terra. No warning symbols. No threat markers. Just the name. Pilots learned what it meant. The fleet opened fire once. The galaxy remembered forever. And Terra remained. Watching. Waiting.